Well, Nicole, if you can hear me, can you put a one in the chat? Again, if you can hear me, can you put a one in the chat? Shalom, Brother Trey. Shalom, Zayden, Zipporah, JoJo Smith. All right. So, um, y'all know, like, the past few lives that I did, it was going over like judgment, right? It was going over judgment. And tonight it's still gonna kind of be about judgment, but it's gonna be tonight. I just kind of wanted to go over Genesis 2:18 through 2:25, and I just want to say this, like before I start. You know, some of this stuff is like it's up for debate. Some of this stuff is up for debate. If anybody tells you that they all the way got Genesis figured out 100%, they must got a time machine. You know, they must got the ability to go back in time, back in the days of Adam and Eve, right? But if you don't have the ability, or you don't have a time machine to go back to the days of Adam and Eve, all you could do is study real hard, study Torah real hard, and like we're gonna do tonight, use the scriptures, right? Use what Torah, the Tanakh says to explain Genesis, right? So again, Genesis 2:18 through 2:25. And you see the title if it's on there. I don't know, from my screen I can't really see the title. I don't know if I set it up right, but it's Genesis 2:18 through 2:25. Meet to help me, right? And again, we're gonna just use the scriptures to describe what's happening, right? So let's just start. Genesis 2:18. And your code. How do I put the link on just in case you want to come in? Like, do I? Let me see. I don't know how to put the link in the chat. Your code, if you on, I don't know how to put the link in the chat for you if you want to come on, but let's just go ahead and start, right? Genesis 2:18. Okay, but let's start. So, leading up to Genesis 2:18, you know, you have Genesis, I'll read this one verse, Genesis 2:7. And the Lord God formed the man of dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. So right here you have the Creator who formed man from the dust, and he became a living soul, right? Now you go down to Genesis 2:18, and we're gonna try to stay on topic with the help me, because some of this stuff we can go into a whole nother conversation, right? So start at 2:18, and the Lord God said, "It is not good that the man should be alone. I will make a help meet for him." All right. So now I be hearing so many people debate, what's the help meet? What's the help meet? What's the help meet? And honestly, a lot of y'all fellas out there, a lot of y'all men out there are so disrespectful when it come down to these women. For real. Y'all disrespectful. And y'all try to downplay the help meet like she's some kind of assistant, right? Like like basically like she's a secretary or an assistant. But she can be, but it's you downgrade her more than what she actually is, right? And I guess it's like a ego thing, inferiority complex, you know. But we're gonna look into it, right? So look, go to 1 Chronicles 12:17. I want to see if y'all can see the same thing I see. If you have a Bible or if you got a Bible on your phone, let's go to 1 Chronicles 12:17, right? And this is gonna be a story about David. So if you go to 1 Chronicles 12:17, it says, "Now it came to pass, as David sat in his house, that David said to Nathan the prophet, Lo, I would dwell in the house of cedars, but the ark of the covenant of the Lord remaineth under the curtains." And as a matter of fact, I'm sorry, I was on 1 Chronicles 17. I mean 1 Chronicles 12:17. 1 Chronicles 12:17. And start at verse 1. All right, so 1 Chronicles 12:17, you got David. He's at odds with Saul. So this is just a little backdrop. Saul was the king of Israel at this time, right? Him and David are at odds, right? So 1 Chronicles 12:1. Now these are they that came to David to Ziklag, while he yet kept himself close because of Saul the son of Kish, and they were among the mighty men, helpers of the war. Right there in verse 1 is telling you these men that were coming to David, they were helpers of the war, right? And they were, and David basically again he was at war with Saul, right? They were armed with bows and could use both the right hand and the left in hurling stones and shooting arrows out of a bow. Even of Saul's brother of Benjamin. So these are even some of Saul's people that were coming to David. And again, it says they were helpers of the war, right? They were armed with bows and could use both the right hand and with the left in hurling stones and shooting arrows out of a bow. Even of Saul's brother of Benjamin. The chief was Ahiezer, then Joash, the sons of Shema, the Gibbethite, and Jeziel, and Pelet, the sons of Asmaveth, and Berakah, and Jehu, the Anthodite, and Ishmael, the Gibeonite, a mighty man among the 30, and among the 30, and Jeremiah, and Jahaziel, and Johanan, and Jochebed, the Geradite, Elazar, and Jeremiah, Beliah, and Shemariah, and Shephatiah, the Haruptite, Elkanah, and Josiah, and Ezrael, and Joezer, and Jashabim, the Korites, and Joella, and Zebediah, the sons of Jerome of Gedor. And of the Gedites were separating themselves unto David into the hold of the wilderness, men of might, and men of war fit for the battle, that could handle shield and buckler, whose faces were like the faces of lions, and were as swift as the roes upon the mountains, right? Ezer the first, Obadiah the second, Eliab the third, Mishmana the fourth, Jeremiah the fifth, and the sixth, Eliah the seventh, Johanan the eighth, Elzabad the ninth, Jeremiah the 10th, Malbana the 11th. All right. So these are just naming the people that were, some of these people were of Saul's crew, right? And these people came to David. And it says that they were helpers of the war. These were of the sons of Gad, captains of the host. One of the least was over 100, and the greatest over 1,000. These are they that went over Jordan in the first month, when they had overflown all his banks, when they put to flight all them of the valleys, both toward the east and toward the west. And there came of the children of Benjamin and Judah to hold unto David. Right? So it's telling these people that came to meet David, right? As to help me, right? And David went out to meet them. Y'all get that, right? These were helpers of the war, and David went out to meet them, right? And answered and said unto them, If you be come peaceably unto me to help me, mine heart shall be knit unto you. But if you come to betray me to my enemies, seeing there's no wrong in my hands, the God of our fathers look their own and rebuke it. So do y'all get that? David is telling them, like, look, if y'all come to help me, if you come peaceably to help me, then my heart should be knit to you. Basically, David is telling them, if you come to be a helpmeet for me, right, my heart should be towards you. Verse 18. Then the Spirit came upon Amasa, who was chief of the captains, and he said, thine are we, David, and on thy side the son of Jesse. Peace be unto thee, and peace be unto thine helper, for thy God helpeth thee. Then David received them and made them captains of the band. So do you see that in 1 Chronicles 12:18? Even the Creator is a helpmeet. And the Creator sent them to come to meet David with help. Again, tonight we're going to go over what's the helpmeet, right? And this is, again, there's a lot of debate over what's the helpmeet. And it's a lot of fellas, it's a lot of y'all guys that straight up disrespect women in terms of, because of the way you interpret Genesis, right? What's the helpmeet? Some of you guys put yourself in God's position. You think you are God, right? But we're just going to read, right? So, be on verse 18. Then the Spirit came upon Amasa, who was chief of the captains, and he said, thine are we, David, and on thy side the son of Jesse. Peace be unto thee. Peace be to thine helpers, for thy God helpeth thee. Then David received them and made them captains of the band. And there fell some of Manasseh to David when he came with the Philistines against Saul to battle, but they helped him not. For the lords of the Philistines upon advisement sent him away, saying, he will fall to his master Saul, to the jeopardy of our hand. As he went to Ziklag, there fell to him Manasseh, Adnah, and Jozabad, and Gedaliel, and Michael, and Jozabad, and Elihu, and Zilthai, captains of the thousands that were of Manasseh. And they helped David against the bands of the rovers, for they were all mighty men of valor, and were captains of the host in the host. For at that time, day by day, there came to David to help him, until it was a great host like the host of God. So if you see what's happening here, right? These men were coming, again, we gave backdrop, right? David was at odds with Saul. Saul was trying to kill David, right? A lot of his men were chasing David. They were trying to kill David. David was on the run a lot, right? But at this time, they're having a change of heart. The creative spirit had left him with Saul. And, Saul the creative spirit was on David. So at this time, you have these men coming to David for help. They're coming to David to help. They're coming to meet David with help. Now take that back to, again, because we're reading Genesis 2:18 to 2:25. Genesis 2:18 to 2:25. Genesis 2:18, and the Lord God said, it is not good that man should be alone. I will make a helpmeet for him. And again, what is a helpmeet, right? All right, Genesis 2:19, and out of the ground the Lord God formed every beast of the field and every fowl of the air, and brought them unto Adam to see what he would call them. And whatsoever Adam called every living creature, that was the name thereof. And Adam gave names to all cattle, and to the fowl of the air, and to every beast of the field. But for Adam, there was not found a helpmeet for him. So we know the Creator is always with you, right? But obviously, as far as Adam here on earth, there was not a suitable helpmeet for him. And again, we did point out the Creator is a helpmeet. You can find that one of the places in Hosea 13:9, right? Hosea 13:9. O Israel, thou hast destroyed thyself, but in me thine is thine help. The Creator is a helpmeet. When you downplay the woman as being a helpmeet, you're downplaying the Creator. He's also a helpmeet. Remember, man was made in the image of the Creator. Yeah, the man and the woman was made in the image of the Creator. Y'all men, y'all have certain features that are made in the image of the Creator. So does that woman. When that woman is being a helpmeet to you, that's her being made in the image of the Creator. But men can be helpmeet too. So that's what we're going to see. The man and the woman are supposed to be helpmeets to each other. Again, you just have to study Torah. You have to really study it, right? To understand the context. So now I want to go to Judges, right? And I want to talk about Deborah the prophetess. It's a lot of y'all men that be disrespecting Deborah the prophetess. Some of y'all men don't even know if you Hebrew Israelites. Y'all ain't even done y'all genealogy. Y'all don't even know. But we know for sure Deborah the prophetess was a Hebrew Israelite. And some of y'all men be speaking upon her when, and honestly, if y'all was face to face with her, y'all wouldn't have any kind of courage or audacity to speak to her or to say anything about her. So let's look at Deborah. Let's see if we can get let's look at Deborah and see if we can get a full, observation of what Deborah is, the essence of Deborah the prophetess, right? And what kind of helpmeet she is. So go to Judges chapter 4. So Judges chapter 4, Deborah was a judge, right? And the judges, there were supposed to be judges in this city with the Hebrew Israelites, but special judges were raised up when Israel was sin. When Israel was sin, special judges would be raised up, right? They helped free them from their enemies. They helped deliver them from their enemies. Samson was one, Samuel was one, but Deborah the prophetess was another one of those judges, right? So Judges 4:1. And the children of Israel again did evil in the sight of the Lord when Ehud was dead. And the Lord sold them into the hand of Jabin, king of Canaan, that reigned in Hazor, the captain of whose host was Sisera, which dwelt in Harosheth of the Gentiles. And the children of Israel cried unto the Lord, for he had 900 chariots of iron, and 20 years he mightily oppressed the children of Israel. So the children of Israel sinned, the Creator brought their enemy on them, right? Jabin, the king of Canaan. So now the Canaanites are afflicting Israel, and the Israelites are crying, right? They need help. So verse 4. And Deborah, a prophetess, the wife of Lapidoth, she judged Israel at that time. And this was before the kings, right? And she dwelt under the palm tree of Deborah between Ramah and Bethel and Mount Ephraim. And the children of Israel came up to her for judgment. And she sent and called Barak, the son of Abinoam, out of Kadesh Naphtali, and said unto him, Have not the Lord God of Israel commanded, saying, Go and draw toward Mount Tabor, and take with thee 10,000 men of the children of Naphtali and of the children of Zebulun? And I will draw unto thee to the river of Kishon, Sisera, the captain of Jabin's army, with the chariots, with his multitude, and I will deliver him into thine hand. Already, right? Already you see the men, and it's not attack the men night either. It's not. We're just going over to help me, right? But already you can see in this situation, the men weren't doing what they were supposed to do. And Deborah was on them like, hey, remember what the Creator told you, right? Remember what he commanded of you, right? So she's telling them, I will draw thee to the river of Kishon, Sisera, the captain of Jabin's army. So she's telling them, look, I'm going to lure him out. I'm going to bring him out, right? And Barak said unto her, and she's telling him, I'm going to bring him out, and I'm going to deliver him in your hand, and you can finish him. Whoever finishes him, whoever kills them, they get the glory and honor. So Deborah at this time, she wasn't a Jezebel. She wasn't trying to step on anybody's toes. She's saying, look, I'm going to help you. I'm gonna help you keep God's commandment, and I'm actually gonna lure him out and put him in your hands so you can destroy him. You know what I'm saying? And you're gonna get the honor and glory for it, right? But look at what he tells Deborah in verse 8, Judges 4:8. This is a man. Look at what he tells Deborah. And Barak said unto her, If thou wilt go with me, then I will go. But if thou wilt not go with me, then I will not go. This is a man telling a woman, like, look, if you go to war with me, I'll go. But if you won't go, I ain't going. Right? Even though the Creator commanded them to go, he's still like, I don't care. I'm not going to do what God said to do unless you go with me. So, what does Deborah say, right? Verse 9. And she said, I will surely go with thee. So she's like, yeah, she's about that life. She don't even think twice about it. She was like, and I will surely go with thee. Notwithstanding, the journey that thou takest shall not be for thine honor, for the Lord shall sell Sisera into the hand of a woman. And Deborah arose and went with Barak to Kadesh. So she's telling him, I'll go with you, no problem. But just know God gonna deliver the Canaanites into the hand of a woman. A woman is gonna get the honor and glory for this. And remember, they're bringing Israel out of captivity, right? And Barak called Zebulun and Naphtali to Kadesh, and he went up with 10,000 men at his feet, and Deborah went up with him. Now Heber the Kenite, which was of the children of Joab, the father-in-law of Moses, had severed himself from the Kenites and pitched his tent into the plain of Zaanam, which is by Kadesh. And they showed Sisera that Barak, the son of Abinoam, was gone up to Mount Tabor. And Sisera gathered together all his chariots, even 900,000, even 900 chariots of iron, and all the people that were with him from Harosheth of the Gentiles into the river of Kishon. And Deborah said unto Barak, Up, for this is the day in which the Lord hath delivered Sisera into thine hand. Is not the Lord gone out before thee? So Barak went down from Mount Tabor, and 10,000 men after him. So now Deborah is motivating him. She's like, get up, it's time to go, right? And the Lord discomforted Sisera, and all his chariots, and all his host, with the edge of the sword before Barak, so that Sisera lighted off down off his chariot and fled away on his feet. Remember, Sisera was the captain of the host of the army, right? But Barak pursued after the chariots and after the host until Harosheth of the Gentiles, and all the hosts of Sisera fell upon the edge of the sword, and there was not a man left. So they killed everybody. There was not a man left. Howbeit Sisera fled away on his feet to the tent of Jael, the wife of Heber the Kenite. So everybody died except the captain, right? Sisera. He fled, but he fled direct to the tent of Heber's wife. So he went to the tent of a woman, right? He went to a woman, right? For there was peace between Jabin the king of Hazor and the house of Heber the Kenite. And Jael, which is a woman, went out to meet Sisera and said unto him, Turn in, my lord, turn in unto me, fear not. And when he had turned in unto her into the tent, she covered him with a mantle. So he's running. He went to her tent. She's like, come in. Like, basically, I help you. He comes in. She covers him with a mantle like she's hiding him, right? And he said unto her, Give me, I pray thee, a little water to drink, for I am thirsty. And she opened a bottle of milk and gave him drink and covered him. And again he said unto her, Stand in the door of the tent, and it shall be when any man do have come and inquire of thee and say, Is there any man here, that thou shalt say no? So he's telling her to keep lookout and tell people that, he's not in there, right? Then Jael, Heber's wife, and this is kind of graphic. We on Judges 4:21, took a nail of the tent and took a hammer in her hand and went softly unto him and smote the nail into his temples and fastened it into the ground, but he was fast asleep and weary, so he died. So she took a nail from the tent, right? You know, the nails that they hold the tent down with, right? And she took a hammer and hammered that nail through his temple, through his head, to where she like nailed him to the ground, through his head, through his temple, right? And behold, as Barak pursued Sisera, Jael came out to meet him and said unto him, Come, I will show thee the man whom thou seekest. And when he came into her tent, behold, Sisera lay dead, and the nail was in his temple. So God subdued on that day Jabin the king of Canaan before the children of Israel. And the hand of the children of Israel prospered and prevailed against Jabin the king of Canaan until they had destroyed Jabin the king of Canaan. So do you see that? Because again, the Israelites were being afflicted, right? And they were in some type of captivity to the Canaanites. But Deborah and another woman, Jael, who wasn't even a Hebrew Israelite, they accompanied the men and they destroyed the Canaanites, right? They freed Israel out of that captivity. If you go over to Judges chapter 5, Deborah and Barak has a song, right? Chapter 5, Judges chapter 5:1. Then sang Deborah and Barak, the son of Abinoam, on that day, saying, Praise you the Lord for avenging of Israel, when the people willingly offered themselves. Right? So she's reading a song. If you go down to Judges 5 and 7, I want you to pay attention to this, right? So it says the inhabitants of the villages ceased. They ceased in Israel until that I, Deborah, arose. That I arose a mother in Israel. Deborah says she arose a mother in Israel. And I mean, that's, to me, when I read that, that was inspirational. Because think about it, what does a mother do? A mother nourishes, right? The woman is used to giving birth. So she went into her motherly instinct, and she looked, and she didn't see herself as being like a mother over the Hebrew Israelites, like, you belong to me, I run you. It was a mother like nurturing. Again, she's a help me. This is what the creator, he chose women for. This is now notice he gave the men a woman for a help me, right? Because it balances. The men has certain instincts, y'all have certain personality traits. Y'all have certain things that make you a father. What are some of the traits and the personality traits of a father, right? And then you have a mother. She has certain traits. It all goes together, it balances. But this is a help me. And notice one thing, the reason why I chose this story, because if you notice one thing about Deborah, if you notice one thing, there is no boundaries to being a help me. Right? There is no boundaries. I had somebody on this same channel ask me, if y'all went to war, right? If this community went to war, would I want to go to? Would I want my husband or whatever to ask me to go to? I don't remember what I said at that time, but I know what I was thinking then. I know what I think now. Yeah, like duh. Like if you go to war, like this community, the so-called Black American community, right? If you go to war right now, you don't have no friends. You don't have no allies. Like Black men, if you go to war right now, if you're being attacked right now, the only help me that you have besides the creator is these Black women. These other women that you love, they're not going to help you. They're not going to war with you. They only want the culture from you. They only want you to be they only want you whenever you're able, when you're in some type of prominent position, right? So they can be some kind of trophy right for you. That's all they want. But they're not going to war for you. It's the women that y'all don't want. It's these Black women that's going to be right there on the front line. When y'all go out to war, when y'all march into the front line, you're going to look to your right and your left, and you're going to see Black women coming out, taking taking their earrings off, their jewelry off, putting their bonnet on, putting on their Black forces. They're going to be the ones that's literally beside you, going to war with you. That's how it's always been. Ain't nothing going to change about that. This is your help me, right? And there is no boundaries to a help me. Y'all want it to be boundaries, but there's no boundaries. Y'all can't show me in the Bible where there's boundaries to the help me. Whatever the man is doing, the woman is supposed to be doing as well. She's supposed to help you. Because if you ever in a situation and you're doing something and you need help, if she's not doing that with you, whatever it is, then she's not helping you. So at that moment of time, she's not a help me. Now, back to Genesis, right? So back to Genesis, I think we were in verse Jacob, and Shalom to MD forward Uden -OE7UL. Hello. Jacob, I don't know if you in or whatever, but so let's go to Genesis 2:21, right? We're just going to keep reading down. And the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept. And he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh thereof. Now, with this, right? So, if you read the story for what it is, it's saying the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam. So most people think this was like some type of surgery. And I mean, I'm not going to argue with you, because like I said, if anybody could tell you that they 100% know what happened in these days, they must got some kind of time machine. The creator must have gave them a vision and allowed them to see what exactly happened. when I'm doing this, going through the scriptures to kind of just show and describe like how you can interpret these, Genesis, right? And it's up for debate. So, for all y'all fellas, for everybody out there that want to believe that, we're in Genesis 2:21, that, this was some type of surgery where Adam was put to sleep and the creator cut a hole in his body, took out one of his ribs, then closed up the flesh. If you want to believe that, that's cool. I cannot argue with you because that's what it literally says right there. But I would just say this, and y'all know I don't really deal with the Hebrew words, right? But I would just say this. So, that word in Hebrew, rib, is tesela, and it means side, chamber, support, structure, partnership, or structural part. Um, so just keep that in mind. You're talking about a side, right? And that same side was used when they were talking about. I can show you some other examples. Like if you go to Deuteronomy 31:26, right? Deuteronomy 31:26. Because let's say if he wasn't talking about an actual bone, right? Because you got to think about this, right? The animals and the beasts that were created, they were all created from the dust. So if Eve was created from Adam's rib, his actual bone out of his body, that would make Eve the only creation that had life, the only life that wasn't formed of dust. So that means at that time she was made what, in the image of man, the man's image, like as in the male. That means the man gave birth. We don't even see no other time in history where the man gives birth, the woman gives birth. And if he took actual bone out of Adam's side, right, natural rib, and made that woman, well, that woman should have came out exactly like him. But yet she came out the opposite of him, right? If I don't want to get too graphic, but if you know anything about the anatomy of a man and a woman, they basically kind of have the same anatomy inside out when you study the private parts of a man and a woman, right? We're not going to go into all that. But, if you look it up and study it, like I believe the man has ovaries too. I don't know if that's his testicles, but I don't want to get too graphic, right? But, you know, but again, when you don't look at that rib like it was actual bone, and you see it like, let's say if it wasn't actual bone, right? Let's look at how the Bible would describe that. So if you go to Deuteronomy, again, that word rib means thighs. If you go to Deuteronomy 31:26, right? So you have the situation with Joshua. And I started verse 23, Deuteronomy 31:23. And he gave Joshua, the son of Nun, a charge, and said, Be strong and of good courage, for thou shalt bring the children of Israel into the land which I swear unto them, and I will be with thee. And it came to pass when Moses had made an end of writing the words of this law in the book, until they were finished, that Moses commanded the Levites, which bear the ark of the covenant of the Lord, saying, Take this book of the law and put it in the side of the ark of the covenant of the Lord your God, that there may be for a witness against thee. So even the book of the law, right? The Creator's word was put on the side of the ark of the covenant. So right there, that sense of side is like beside. It's actual meaning like beside, like that companion. They go hand in hand. It's the part of that structure. You can also find it in Ezekiel 41:4 when they're talking about the temple and they start describing the side chamber. This was a structural part of the temple. It was a part of the temple. So just keep that in mind when it's talking about Eve being a rib, right? It's talking about the side. That was the companion. Like a companion or equal to Adam. A lot of y'all may not like that. Also, the word ribs, again, if you were to look at in Daniel 7:5, the word ribs is being used to describe a nation. Right? Also, if you want to look at side as well, I would just give you this. If you want to go to side, just keep this in mind, right? Let's see, Psalms 89:13. I'll use this one. Psalms 89:13. Psalms 89:13. So it's talking about the Creator, right? Thou hast a mighty arm, strong is thy hand, and high is thy right hand. So keep in mind the right hand is the strong hand, right? And go to Psalms 80:17, another example of that. Psalms 80:17. Let thy hand be upon the man of thy right hand, upon the son of man whom thou madest strong unto himself. Your right hand is supposed to represent strength. And the right hand is always standing on the side as your help. Just keep that in mind. Also, Ecclesiastes 10:2. Ecclesiastes 10:2. A wise man's heart is at his right hand, but a fool's heart at his left. So a wise man's heart is going to be at your right hand. It's going to be on your, like the right hand, the right side, the right hand is supposed to equal strength and power, right? So keep that in mind also when it comes down to Eve. She's supposed to be Adam's strength, his power. That's why she was taken from his side, right? She's at his side, his rib. That's his companion. She's supposed to be his strength. Just keep that in mind, right? Also, I would just say this. That deep sleep in Genesis 2. Genesis 2:21, it says, and the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept. And he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh thereof instead thereof. Right? So the Creator caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam. Most people think that Adam was actually asleep. But, Jacob, like for those who remember, Jacob actually went over this lesson on Clubhouse, right? Last year. And he was talking about that deep sleep was like a trance. And I agree, because that deep sleep doesn't exactly mean that you were asleep. But watch this. Go to 1 Samuel 26. 1 Samuel 26. One Samuel 26. And so David again is at odds with Saul. So I don't want to read the whole story. So let's start at verse 11, right? 1 Samuel 26:11. I'm not going to read the whole story. The Lord forbid that I shall stretch forth my hand against the Lord's anointed. But I pray thee, take thou now the spear that is in his bolster, and the cruse of water, and let us go. So it's David, and he's talking about Saul, who was the Creator's anointed, right? He was king at that time. So verse 12. So David took the spear and the cruse of water from Saul's bolster, and they gat them away, and no man saw it, no knew it, neither awake, for they were all asleep, because a deep sleep from the Lord was fallen upon them. So as you can see right there, they were able to take Saul's bolster and his spear and his water, right? And they were able to get away because the Creator put a deep sleep on Saul. So right here in this sense, you do have a deep sleep where he's actually asleep. And they're in REM sleep. They're in a real deep sleep, to the point where David and his crew were able to sneak up on him, take these things from him, and get away. And it says no man saw it nor knew it. So when you're talking about a deep sleep, you're talking about being under a spell where you're not able to see, where you're not able to understand or comprehend what's happening. You do not have to be in a sleep, like with your eyes closed, for this to happen, right? Because another example there is the infamous Isaiah 29:10. Isaiah 29 and 10. The creator, he's upset with Israel. So I started verse 9. Isaiah 29 and 9. Stay yourselves and wonder. Cry ye out and cry. They are drunken, but not with wine. They stagger, but not with strong drink. When he's saying that, he's saying they were making bad decisions. They were erring in their judgment, right? They were drunk, but not by actual drink, but not by alcohol, right? Isaiah 29 and 10. For the Lord have poured out upon you the spirit of deep sleep, and have closed your eyes. The prophets and your rulers, the seers, have he covered. And the vision of all is becoming to you as the words of a book that is sealed, which man delivered to one that is learned, saying, Read this, I pray thee. And he said, I cannot, for it is sealed. So he's talking about their spiritual vision. Their ability, they don't understand the creator's word. Because they don't understand the creator's word, like is in a person that don't understand the Bible. You don't understand Torah, you don't understand the Tanakh, right? You don't understand the Old Testament. When that vision of the Old Testament is become sealed to you, and when he's covered it and he's put you in a deep sleep, you lose your ability to have a spiritual vision of the real world. You're not able to see things that are happening around you. Prophecies are coming true around you, and you don't know anything about it. You're not able to see it. When you think about our community, the so-called Black American community, right? Think about the curses that you're under. Y'all know the infamous Deuteronomy 28, Leviticus 26, right? And the curses are written all through the Bible, right? But you're under those curses, literally. You're cursed in the field. You're cursed in the city. Cursed is your basket in your store. That's why our community don't really own a lot of businesses. We have foreigners coming in on our land. They're getting really high above us, and we're coming down real low. But yet our people aren't able to see these things that are happening to us, right? Because our spiritual vision has been covered. Why? Because we don't understand the Creator's word. But how is this happening to us? Because we're in a deep sleep. The Creator poured out a spirit of deep sleep to us, so that these curses can overtake us, right? Until we come back to Him. So in this sense right here, these people aren't actually asleep. Like if you're in a deep sleep and you don't understand the Creator's word and you don't understand what's happening to our community, you're not asleep as in you're in a bed and your eyes are closed. No, you're walking around, you're talking. You're not asleep at all, but you're in a deep sleep. Like you're not able to see and understand what's happening. Keep that in mind as well when you're in Genesis. When the Creator brought the woman, when the Creator brought Eve to Adam, that don't mean necessarily that Adam was like and Eve were asleep. That means they weren't able to see what the Creator was doing. Jacob kind of described it real good when he said that they were in a trance, and they never did come out of that trance. The Creator is basically, he's moving the heart and the soul and the spirit of Adam and Eve and bringing them to each other, man and woman, letting man and woman know we're supposed to be together. That's how man knows not to go hook up with a dog. You know not to go lay with a pig, right? You know not to go lay with an animal. You know to look at a woman and think, I'm supposed to be with you. Well, some people don't exactly understand that, right? But for those who aren't like under that deep sleep, you understand that you're supposed to be. This was what was happening. If he was bringing them together like a covenant, And so just keep that in mind. That Genesis 2:21 does not necessarily mean that it was a surgery and Adam was asleep and God went cut open his body, took his bone out, his rib out, and made Eve. They could have very much so been like he could have very much so been like awake, walking around, moving around. But the Creator was moving things for him to bring Eve to him. But Adam wasn't able to see or understand what the Creator was doing. Now we on verse, and also too, I want to just point out too, well, I'll say that. So Genesis 2:22, right? And the rib and the side, right? Because in other translations that word rib isn't there. I think it's tessella, means side, right? So, in the rib, which the Lord God had taken from man, made he a woman and brought her into the man. Now, right there, when it says brought her into the man, that doesn't mean they had sex. That could have meant they had sex, but that don't necessarily mean they had sex, right? If you go to Genesis 29:23, and again, I'm just using, you guys, I'm really just using scriptures to interpret to show that some of y'all be so upset about Genesis. And really, I'm gonna be honest with you, it's really the men. I'm not picking at y'all, but it's really the men. Like y'all have y'all own interpretation of what Genesis means, as if y'all was around back then. I'm just showing that what I'm doing tonight is bringing out, showing you that you truly have to study Torah, and you have to be founded in the Old Testament to truly understand what Genesis means, right? And if you don't understand what Genesis means, that's the reason why so much tension and this gender war is going on between the man and the woman. Because a lot of people misinterpret Genesis. They don't understand it, right? I'm just kind of showing that. I'm just only pointing out, and then what I'm saying is maybe not be 100% right, right? But Genesis 29:23, we're gonna look at that, what it means to be brought into somebody, right? Again, I'm not gonna read the whole story, but with Jacob, right? So in this case, it may be a sexual thing, right? Genesis 29:21. And Jacob said unto Laban, that was his uncle, right? Give me my wife, for my days are fulfilled, that I may go in unto her. And Laban gathered together all the men of the place and made a feast. And it came to pass in the evening that he took Leah his daughter and brought her to him, and he went in unto her. In that case, it may be sexual, right? But what about Genesis 39:14? This is also meaning in a sexual sense. Genesis 39:14. This is talking about Joseph. Joseph, when he was basically, his brothers sold him, and he ended up being sold to the Egyptians, right? When they were jealous of Joseph. So he's right now, he has a master. He's serving his master in Egypt. So, and the master's wife was trying to come on to Joseph, right? So I started verse 9, Genesis 39:7. And it came to pass after these things that his master's wife cast her eyes upon Joseph, and she said, lie with me. So she's asking Joseph to have sex with her. But he refused and said unto his master's wife, behold, my master water from what is with me in the house, and he hath committed all that he hath into my hand. There is none greater in this house than I. Neither have he kept back anything from me, but thee, because thou art his wife. How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God? So Joseph turned her down, basically, right? And it came to pass that she spake to Joseph day by day, that he hearkened unto her to lie, that he hearkened not unto her to lie by her, or to be with her. And it came to pass about this time that Joseph went into the house to do his business, and there was none of the men of the house there with him, there within. And she caught him by his garment, saying, lie with me. And he left his garment in her hand and fled and got him out. And it came to pass when she saw that he had left his garment in her hand and was fled forth, that she called unto the men of the house and spake it to them, saying, see, he had brought an Hebrew unto us to mock us. And he came unto me to lie with me. And I cried out with a loud voice. So now she's accusing Joseph of trying to rape her. But my point of reading this was the whole brought into you into this is sexual, right? But then you have Exodus 2:10. Exodus chapter 2, verse 10. And this is talking about Moses, right? Y'all remember Moses? Y'all remember the Egyptians wanted to kill the little boys and stuff in Israel. So you know what Moses' mother did to try to save him, right? She put him out on the river, and Pharaoh's daughter seen him, and she wanted Moses, right? So that's a little backdrop. I started Exodus 2:8. And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, go, and the maid went and called the child's mother. And Pharaoh's daughter said unto her, Take this child away and nurse it for me, and I will give thee thy wages. And the woman took the child and nursed it. And the child grew, and she brought him unto Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. And she called his name Moses, and she said, Because I drew him out of the water. So right then, Moses was brought in into Pharaoh's daughter. It's not sexual. In that sense, it's not sexual, right? You also have Judges 16:18. Judges 16:18. This is talking about Samson, right? Remember when the Philistines were trying to trick Samson? They wanted to know. They were trying to basically pay Samson's wife to basically find out what is his strength so they can overtake him. So I started verse 15, Judges 16:15. And this is Delilah, right? Samson's wife. And she said unto him, How canst thou say I love thee when thine heart is not with me? Thou hast mocked me these 3 times and hast not told me wherein thy great strength lieth. And it came to pass when she passed him daily with her words and urged him, so that his soul was vexed unto death, that he told her all his heart and said unto her, There have not come a razor upon my head, for I have been a Nazarite unto God from my mother's womb. If I be shaven, then my strength will go from me, and I shall become weak and be like other men. And when Delilah saw that he had told her all his heart, she sent and called for the lords of the Philistines, saying, Come up this once, for he hath showed me all his heart. Then the lords of the Philistines came up unto her and brought money in their hand. See, they came up unto her. In this sense, it's not sexual. So again, that's going back to Genesis 2:22. And the rib, the side which the Lord God had taken from man, made he woman and brought her into the man. That does not mean they had sex. It could have been. Or it could just mean that the Creator brought that man into that woman in terms of an emotional connection, making them one spirit. He had already put them in a deep sleep, right? Where they weren't able to see or understand or comprehend what he was doing. Maybe, just maybe, he brought that woman to be like, to make them as one, giving them one heart, one flesh. Genesis 2:23. And Adam said, This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. Now, okay, so my interpretation of that is that they're from the same nation. And Adam said, This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh, right? They're from the same nation. Remember, that's how they always did things back then. If you go to Genesis 24, right? This is Abraham. So I just read a little backdrop. Genesis chapter 24. And Abraham was old and well stricken in age, and the Lord had blessed Abraham in all things. And Abraham said unto his eldest servant of his house, that ruled over all that he had, Put, I pray thee, thy hand under my thigh, and I will make thee swear by the Lord, thy God of heaven and the God of the earth, that thou shalt not take a wife unto my son and the daughters of the Canaanite, upon whom I dwell. So Abraham is making his servant swear that he won't go find Isaac a wife of the Canaanites, right? But thou shalt go into my country, into my kindred, and take a wife unto my son. Let's go down. So we don't have to read the whole story, right? Go down to verse 7. The Lord God of, verse 6. And Abraham said unto him, Beware thou that thou bring not my son thither again. The Lord God of heaven, which took me from my father's house, and from the land of my kindred, and which spake unto me, and that swear unto me, saying, Unto thy seed will I give this land. He shall send his angel before thee, and thou shalt take a wife unto my son from thence. So do you see that? Abraham's telling his servant, look, the Creator is going to not only give my seed this land, but he's going to send an angel before me, right? And you should go take a wife. And it says, Abraham says that the Creator took him from his father's house. But he's telling his servant, you should go get his son from thence. Meaning, go back to his own people. If you go down to verse 40, and he said unto me, the Lord before whom I walk will send his angel with thee and prosper thy way. And thou shalt take a wife of my son of my kindred and of my father's house. That's what they pretty much did back then. That's what they pretty much did. They went back and found their wives, their husbands from their own people. Even if you go to go over to Genesis 29:14, right? Genesis 29:14. Because again, we're studying the verse right now. We're on Genesis 2:23. And Adam said, this is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman because she was taken out of man. I'm using scriptures to show with this verse, she was taken from that same nation. These are like his same people. She was made of his same, they're basically cut from the same cloth, if you want to word it that way. This is how things were always done. Genesis 29:14. Even when it comes down to Isaac's son Jacob, right? And we don't have to read the whole thing. So let's start at verse 12, right? Matter of fact, no. Start at verse 10. Start at verse 10. And it came to pass when Jacob saw Rachel, the daughter of Laban, his mother's brother, and the sheep of Laban, that his mother's brother, that Jacob went near, and rolled the stone from the well's mouth, and watered the flock of Laban, his mother's brother. And Jacob kissed Rachel, and lifted up his voice and wept. And Jacob told Rachel that he was her father's brother, and that he was Rebekah's son. And she ran and told her father. And it came to pass when Laban heard the tidings of Jacob his sister's son, that he ran to meet him, and embraced him, and kissed him, and brought him to his house. And he told Laban all these things. And Laban said to him, surely thou art my bone and my flesh. And he abode with him in a space of a month. That's the same thing we just read in Genesis 2:23. And Adam said, this is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman because she was taken out of a man. You're my people. You're my family. We're of the same family. 2 Samuel 5:1. You can see the same thing again with David. 2 Samuel 5:1. This is talking about David, right? This is when Israel came to solidify David, the king of all of Israel. So 2 Samuel 5:1. Then came all the tribes of Israel to David unto Hebron, and spake, saying, behold, we are thy bone and thy flesh. Also in time past, when Saul was king over us, thou was he that led us out and brought us in Israel. And the Lord said to thee, thou shalt feed my people Israel, and thou shalt be a captain over Israel. So all the elders of Israel came to the king into Hebron, and King David made a league with them in Hebron before the Lord, and they anointed David king over Israel. Again, verse 1. Then all the tribes came to David in Hebron, saying, behold, we are thy bone and flesh. We are your people. We're all as one now. We're a family. It's the same thing. That goes back to Genesis, where we were just at, Genesis 2. Genesis 2, verse 23. And Adam said, this is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman because she was taken out of man. And you know, your bones cleave to your flesh and your skin, right? A man and a woman are supposed to cleave. Your family is supposed to be as one spirit, one heart, right? Now, speaking of that, let's go to Genesis 2:24. Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. Now, what does that mean? So, if you go to Malachi 2:16, right? What does it mean, right? Let's go to Malachi 2:16. Remember, we're just using scriptures to describe Genesis 2:18 to 2:25. Malachi 2:16. And matter of fact, start at verse 13. Let's start at verse 12. The Lord will cut off the man that doeth this, the master of the scholar, and of the tabernacles of Jacob, and him that offered an offering unto the Lord of hosts. And this have you done again, covering the altar of the Lord with tears, with weeping, and with crying out, insomuch that he regardeth not the offering anymore, or receiveth it with good will at your hand. So they're crying out, they're weeping, and the creditor's like he's not accepting their offering, right? And verse 14, yet you say, wherefore? Because the Lord hath been witness between thee and the wife of thy youth, against whom thou hast dealt treacherously. Yet she is thy companion and the wife of thy covenant. Remember what I was saying? That word, help me. So the Hebrew word for help me is ezer kenegdo, right? A suitable helper, strong, companion, complementary, partner, rescuer, strong, a perfect fit. Ezer means strength, rescuer, power. Kenegdo, opposite, corresponding to. This is what your help me is supposed to be, right? The companion. Your rib, right? That's your side, right? The side is in the right hand. The strength hand, the strong hand, the power hand. She's supposed to be your strength and your power. So again, when you look at Malachi 2:14, he's telling them like they dealt treacherously with their wives, right? Their companion. Verse 15, and did he not make one? Yet had he the residue of the spirit, and wherefore one, that he might seek a godly seed. Therefore take heed to your spirit, and let none deal treacherously against the wife of his youth. For the Lord, the God of Israel, said that he hateth putting away. From one covered with violence with his garment, said the Lord of hosts. Therefore take heed to your spirit, that you deal not treacherously. So the Creator is telling you right here in Malachi that you're supposed to be one spirit. And the result of that, what the Creator wants from that, what he wanted from Adam and Eve, was to have a godly seed, not a Cain. He wanted an Abel and a Seth, not a Cain. They were supposed to help me. The man and the woman are supposed to be one spirit, right? You can see that even with, and remember this, y'all. When you read the Bible, the Creator teaches you how you're supposed to deal with each other is the way you're also supposed to deal with the Creator. That's why he likens himself basically like to being in a marriage with Israel. Israel is like seen as being the feminine, the woman of the marriage, the virgin daughter of Israel. He's seen as being like the groom, right? He's the man in the marriage. We're supposed to deal with each other the way we're supposed to deal with him. Even when you go to Ezekiel, right? And he's talking about the valley of dry bones. But he's talking about putting Israel back together, right? And let's start at Ezekiel 37. Right? Ezekiel 37:11. Then he said unto me, son of man, these bones are the whole house of Israel. Behold, they say, our bones are dried, and our hope is lost. We are cut off for our parts. Therefore prophesy and say unto them, thus said the Lord God, behold, O my people, I will open your graves and cause you to come up out of your graves, and bring you into the land of Israel. And you shall know that I am the Lord, when I have opened your graves, O my people, and brought you up out of your graves, and shall put my spirit in you, and you shall live. And I shall place you in your own land. Then you shall know that I, the Lord, have spoken it and performed it, said the Lord. Verse 15. The word of the Lord came again unto me, saying, Moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick and write upon it for Judah and for the children of Israel, his companions. Do you see that? His companions. And take another stick and write upon it for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, and for all the house of Israel, his companions. The northern and southern kingdom are supposed to be companions. They're supposed to be one. They're not even supposed to be split. Remember, the Creator hates putting it away. We just read that in Malachi, right? And join them one to another into one stick, and they shall become one in thine hand. And when the children of thy people shall speak unto thee, saying, Will not thou show us what this meaneth by thee? Say unto them, Thus said the Lord God, Behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Israel his fellows, and will put them with him, even the stick of Judah, and make them one stick, and they shall be one in mine hand. And the sticks whereon thou writest shall be in thine hand before their eyes. And say unto them, Thus said the Lord God, Behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen, whether they be gone, and will gather them on every side, and bring them into their own land. And I will make them one nation in the land upon the mountains of Israel, and one king shall be king to them all, and they shall no more be two nations, neither shall they be divided into two kingdoms any more at all. That was what he wanted for Adam and Eve. That's literally Genesis 2:22, right? I'm sorry, that's literally Genesis 2:24. Therefore shall a man leave his father and mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. You can also see that in Ezekiel 11, right? Ezekiel 11, the same story. Ezekiel chapter 11. Go down to verse 14, right? Matter of fact, go to verse 17. I don't want to read the whole story, right? Go to verse 17. Therefore say, Thus said the Lord God, I will gather you from the people. He's telling you, for y'all don't know the story, the Creator is going to gather Israel from amongst, right now, Israelites, these so-called Black Americans, right? You're scattered amongst the heathen. Basically, these foreigners, you're scattered amongst them. But he's going to gather you, bring you back together again, right? You're going to come up out of your land of captivity. So we're going to start again. We're on verse 17. So therefore say, Thus said the Lord God, I will gather you from the people and assemble you out of the countries where you have been scattered, and I will give you the land of Israel. And they shall come thither, and they shall take away all the detestable things thereof, and all the abominations thereof from thence. And I will give them one heart, and I will put a new spirit within you. And I will take the stony heart out of their flesh, and will give them an heart of flesh, that they may walk in my statutes and keep my ordinances and do them. And they shall be my people, and I will be their God. That's it right there. Verse 19, Ezekiel 11:19. He's going to take them, Israel. He's going to give them the northern and southern kingdom, which is split up. The so-called Black Americans, you are split up. That's why you have no help. We're scattered, right? And he says he's going to give you one heart and put a new spirit within you, and take your stony heart out of your flesh and give you a heart of flesh. That's literally what he wanted for Adam and Eve. Genesis 2:24. Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. Put that with Malachi, what we just read in Malachi, and put that with what we just read in Ezekiel. One flesh, one spirit. The husband and wife, the man and the woman, are supposed to be together, one flesh, one spirit. You're supposed to be on the same page, right? Ain't that Amos? What does Amos say about that? Amos 3 and 3, right? Amos 3 and verse 3. Can two walk together except they be agreed? How can you be husband and wife and be a helpmeet to each other and be one spirit and be one in flesh and cleave to each other if you don't even agree? If y'all don't agree, you're not walking together. Y'all walking separately. And at that point, you're no longer a helpmeet. Because what does the Creator say in Malachi? The result of all this, what does he want from you being one spirit, right? Where was that at? Malachi 2:16? What does the Creator want to get from you being one in spirit? He wants a godly seed. That's Malachi 2:15. And did he not make one? Yet had he the residue of the spirit, and wherefore one, that he may seek a godly seed. Therefore take heed to your spirit, and let none deal treacherously against the wife of his youth. You have to be on the same page as one. For the women, if you're going to be a helpmeet to your husband, you have to be on the same page as your husband. You can't be trying to sabotage him. You have to be on the same page as him. Y'all have to come to y'all have to find a common solution. You can't be a helpmeet to your husband if you're not. You actually have to be helping him. Like when he's doing something, you have to be doing whatever that is with him. That way, y'all are walking together on the same page to produce a godly seed. Notice when you look at Adam and Eve, they weren't walking together. They weren't on the same page. That's how they ended up getting the Cain. But they also did produce the Abel as well. But the Creator wants the godly seed. Y'all have to be on the same page. You're not going to produce a godly seed, a seed that seeks the Creator and follows the Creator, if y'all not on the same page. Women, you can't be trying to undermine your husband. Husbands, you can't be undermining the woman, right? Y'all have to understand each other's purpose. That way you can walk together. You know, remember I just said the Creator. So if you go to Deuteronomy 30, right? The Creator, a lot of times, if you look at the way he describes the way we're supposed to deal with him, that's the way we're supposed to deal with each other. So Deuteronomy 30, right? And 20. So the Creator, in this point in time, Deuteronomy 30 and 20, he's telling Israel to bless themselves. He's calling heaven and earth against them, right? He's giving them, he's letting them know, I put before you life and death, the blessings and the curse. Keep the laws and commandments, be blessed. Break the laws and commandments, be cursed and die, right? So Deuteronomy 30, he's telling them. Well, I started verse 19, Deuteronomy 30, 19. I call heaven and earth to record this day against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Therefore choose life, and both thou and thy seed may live, that thou mayest love the Lord thy God, and that thou mayest obey his voice, and that thou mayest cleave unto him, for he is thy life, and the length of thy days, and thou mayest dwell in the land which the Lord sware unto thy fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, to give them. The Creator is telling Israel, right? Obey his voice, cleave unto him. Remember Genesis 2, the Creator told Adam and Eve, therefore a man shall leave his father and mother and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. The Creator is telling you to cleave unto him, become one with him, right? Love him with all your heart and cleave unto him. Even if you look at Joshua 2:25, right? Joshua says the same thing. Joshua 2:25. Joshua 22 and 5. I'm sorry. Joshua 22 and 5. Joshua 22 and 5. So Joshua is talking to Israel, and he says, "But take diligent heed to do the commandment and the law which Moses, the servant of the Lord, charged you, to love the Lord your God, and to walk in all his ways, and to keep his commandments, and to cleave unto him, and to serve him with all your heart and with all your soul." The same way you're supposed to cleave unto your wife and your husband, the same way you're supposed to cleave unto the Creator. And you're supposed to love him with all your heart, with all your soul, and serve him. Serve is to minister, right? To help. Men and women, you're supposed to serve your husband and wife. It goes both ways. Minister to them, right? Help them. Also, like if you go to Joshua 23 and 12, just go over one more chapter, right? Joshua 23 and 12. So this is a further letting you know that cleaving is a form of marriage, right? Because if you go to Joshua 23 and 12, he's telling them not to deal with the nations, with the Canaanites, not to deal with the nations the Creator drove out, right? And he says, let's start 23 and 9. For the Lord have driven out from before you great nations and strong. But as for you, no man have been able to stand before you this day. One man of you shall chase 1,000 for the Lord your God. He is that fighter for you, as he promised you. Take good heed, therefore, unto yourselves that you love the Lord your God. Else, if you do in any wise go back and cleave unto the remnant of these nations. He's telling you, if you go back and cleave unto the Canaanites and these nations you're not supposed to deal with, even these that remain among you, and shall make marriages with them and go in unto them, and they to you, know for a certainty that the Lord your God will no more drive out any of these nations from before you, but they shall be snares and traps unto you, and scourges in your side, and thorns in your eyes, and you shall perish off this good land which the Lord your God hath given you. So right here, he's telling you, do not cleave unto these other nations. Do not make marriages with them. Right? To cleave is to make marriage. But who does he tell you to cleave to? He's telling you to cleave in Deuteronomy 30:20 to him, the Creator, and cleave unto your husband or your wife. And be one flesh. One flesh we just studied means one in spirit, one heart. Can two walk together unless they agree? You have to agree. The whole point of that, as Malachi showed, is what? To produce a godly seed. You can't be torn and expect to produce a godly seed. Not if you're saying this and then he's saying that. You have to produce the godly seed, and you have to be agreed to actually. Because think about it, Adam and Eve did agree both to eat the fruit, the forbidden fruit, right? They both agreed to take of that tree of good and evil, the knowledge of good and evil. That was a bad thing. God told them not to do that. So yeah, you're supposed to be together as one, but it needs to be keeping the Creator's commandments. That's what it's for. That's what he put Adam and Eve for. He put them here to keep it. He gave them his laws and commandments, his ways. They were supposed to be on the same page of keeping the Creator's ways and serving him. So you can't follow the laws, commandments, and judgments. But your wife or your husband, they don't follow the laws, commandments, and judgments. They believe they can get salvation another way. Y'all not on the same page. The only way you can actually be one and be a righteous, husband and wife, a righteous marriage, is to be on the same page, keeping the Creator's laws, commandments, and his ways. And that's the only way you can produce a godly seed, right? A seed that will prosper. Now, the last verse of Genesis 2:25, it says, and they were both naked, the man and the wife, and they were not ashamed. So if you look through Torah, right? The whole concept of being naked and ashamed is to be in sin. Right? It's to be in sin. An example of that would be Ezekiel 16:18. Ezekiel 16:18. And actually, I'm sorry, Ezekiel 16:8. Ezekiel 16:8, right? So it says, and this is the creator. He's saying, now when I passed by thee and looked upon thee, behold, thy time was a time of love, and I spread my skirt over thee and covered thy nakedness. Yea, I sworn to thee and entered into a covenant with thee, said the Lord thy God, and thou becamest mine. Then I washed thee with water, yea, I thoroughly washed away the blood from thee, and I anointed thee with oil. If you go to the verse above that, Ezekiel 16:6, it says, when I passed by thee and saw thee polluted in thine own blood, I said unto thee, when thou was in thy blood, live. Yeah, and I said unto thee, when thou was in thy blood, live. So, and also another example of that would be Micah 1, right? Or let's say Jeremiah 13:26. I use that one, so I don't have to read the whole story. Jeremiah 13:26. Let's start at verse 25. Jeremiah 13:25. This is thy lot, the portion of thy measures from me, said the Lord, because thou hast forgotten me and trusted in falsehood. Therefore will I discover thy skirts upon thy face, that thy shame may appear. I have seen thine adulteries and thy nayings, the lewdness of thy whoredom, and thine abominations on the hills and the fields. Woe unto thee, O Jerusalem! Wilt thou not be made clean? When shall it once be? So, when you read through Torah, it's normally when it's talking about being naked, it's talking about being ashamed, which means you're in sin, right? You're discovered, right? Your sins have been discovered, right? You're naked, you're bare, you're exposed. But right here in Genesis 2:25, the creator saying they both were naked, the man and his wife, and they were not ashamed. Which means this is before they took of the tree of good and evil, right? They both were pure and innocent. They weren't in sin yet. They didn't know sin. Remember, the creator made them in his image. And he brought them into each other. He put them under that deep sleep, right? So they both only knew the ways the creator wanted them to know. This is before they took of the tree of forbidden fruit, right? This is before they went outside of the creator's ways. And when they went to that other information that the serpent basically enticed them to go to, right? Before then, they were pure and innocent. So they were naked and they were not ashamed. They were like a baby, really. Naked and didn't know it, like innocent, pure. This is how it was in the beginning of marriage, right? When the creator first put Adam and Eve together. They didn't know any other way. They only knew how to love each other. They only knew how to cleave to each other. They only knew how to be as one until they went into sin, right? I'm not going to go further into that because that's a whole nother conversation, right? But I would just say this, and I'm almost finished. I only got like a few more to go, right? If you go to Malachi 2:15, I want to go back there. Malachi 2:15, when he's talking about the godly seed, right? Malachi 2:15. And start at verse 14. Yet you say, wherefore, because the Lord hath been witness between thee and the wife of thy youth, against whom thou hast dealt treacherously. Yet is she thy companion and the wife of thy covenant? And did he not make one? Yet had he the residue of the spirit, and wherefore one, that he may seek a godly seed. Therefore take heed to your spirit, and let none deal treacherously against the wife of his youth. The creator wants a godly seed. That's the whole point. Adam and Eve were supposed to produce a godly seed. Also, if you go to Psalms 45:10, right? Psalms 45:10. Because at this point, I kind of just want to look into a little bit of the man and the woman individually, right? So Psalms 45 and 10. This is actually talking about David, one of his weddings, one of his wives, right? And this is the advice that was being given. Listen to what he says. Psalms 45 and 10. He says, "Hearken, O daughter, and consider and incline thine ear. Forget also thine own people and thy father's house." When you go into a marriage, you're no longer supposed to be taking your mother and your father's house with you. Right? You're going now into your husband, into your wife to build your own house. Your mother and your father should have taught you the laws and commandments and the right way to go. And whoever you're marrying, they should also know the right way to go and the laws and commandments. That's all you should be taking from your mother and your father's house. And verse 11 says, "So shall the king greatly desire thy beauty, for he is thy Lord, and worship thou him." So David is telling you, like, look, it's time, like, we're going to build our own house. Forget your father's house. You shouldn't be no longer trying to continue on the legacy. A woman should no longer be trying to continue on the legacy of her mother and father's house. Now you're building your own house. You're making your own family now. And a lot of times these days, because we have a lot of broken homes, in our community, you don't have a lot of marriages. So when a woman does get married, it's a chance she might come from a home where there wasn't a marriage, right? And she might try to bring that spirit into her house. No, you can't bring that spirit. You have to understand is you're cleaving now to your husband, right? Y'all are making your own house. Jeremiah 29 and 6, right? And this is talking about the captivity. But it's just still one thing I want you to get out of this. Jeremiah 29 and 6. Right? So let's start at verse 4. Sorry, Jeremiah 29, start at verse 4. "Thus said the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, unto all that are carried away captives, until I have caused to be carried away from Jerusalem into Babylon." He's talking to the Israelites that were carried away in captivity in Babylon, right? But we're in captivity now. So this applies to us as well, right? He says, "Build ye houses and dwell in them, and plant gardens and eat the fruit of them. Take ye wives and beget sons and daughters, and take wives for your sons and give your daughters to husbands, that they may bear sons and daughters, that you may be increased there and not diminished." That's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to be getting married, y'all. So a lot of the stuff our people that they push us to do, or you need to graduate and go to college, or you need to do this, and you need to do that. A lot of that is actually taking us away from our purpose. And notice it says, "And give your daughters to husbands," because that's actually what I'm finna get into. A lot of us out here are sending our kids to do trial and error. And we're wondering how our daughters become prostituted, whored out, and how our sons become a whore themselves. So again, I'm almost finished. I just want to look into that, right? Numbers 27 and 8. Well, first, before I go to Numbers 27 and 8, remember we read in Genesis 24, right? When Abraham told his servant to go into his kindred and take a wife from Isaac. You should be taking a husband and wife from your own people, from your own nation. You shouldn't be going outside of your nation to take a husband and a wife. It needs to be somebody within your own culture. You should not allow your kids to go outside of their own nation to take a husband or wife. It should be somebody within their own culture. That's why genealogy is key, right? A Black American isn't the same thing as an African. You don't send if you're a Black American, you don't send your daughter, your son to marry an African. You don't okay that. Because I guarantee you, Africans don't okay their sons and daughters to marry a Black American unless they want a green card, a visa. All skin folks aren't kin folks, right? What is your genealogy? But look at this, Numbers 27:8. I talked to Jacob about this before, in which I don't know if we agreed, but I said that the man, from what I studied, should have something to offer the woman. He should have an inheritance, right? And I know that's hard to come by these days. But this goes back to the parents. You have to leave your kids an inheritance so they can leave their kids an inheritance, right? So they can carry on. So Numbers 27. I just started verse 1, right? So then came the daughters. This is when they were giving out lots of inheritance and land. They were dividing the land, right? So then came the daughters of Zelophehad, the son of Hepher, the son of Gilead, the son of Machir, the son of Manasseh, and the families of Manasseh, the son of Joseph. And these are the names of his daughters: Mala, Noah, and Hagla, and Milcah, and Tirzah. And they stood before Moses and before Eleazar, the priest, and before the princes and all the congregation by the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, saying, Our father died in the wilderness, and he was not in the company of them that gathered themselves together against the Lord in the company of Korah, but died in his own sin and had no sons. So these women came, right? The daughters came, and they're telling Moses, like, look, their father died in the wilderness, and he didn't have any sons. Because again, they're giving out land. They're giving out, they're issuing out land at this time, right? Why should the name of our father be done away with from among his family, because he have no sons? Give unto us therefore a possession among the brethren of our father. So as you can see there, what does that tell you? The inheritance, the land, was being dished out to the men, not to the women. But in this case, they're saying their fathers didn't have a son. Their fathers had only them, daughters. And Moses brought their cause before the Lord, and the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, The daughters of Zelophehad speak right. Thou shalt surely give them a possession of an inheritance among their father's brethren, and thou shalt cause the inheritance of their father to pass unto them. And thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel, saying, If a man die and have no son, then you shall cause his inheritance to pass unto the daughter. So if that man dies and there's no son, it has to go to the daughter. But if there's a son, it has to go to the boy, right? And if you have no daughter, then you should give his inheritance unto his brother. And if you have no brother, then you should give his inheritance unto his father's brother. And if his fathers have no brother, then you should give his inheritance unto his kinsman that is next of his family, that he shall possess it, and he shall come into the children of Israel a statute of judgment, and as the Lord commanded Moses. So put that with Numbers 36, right? The land and the inheritance passes unto the boy. And that means something, right? It's the reason for that. Numbers 36. And the chief fathers of the families of the children of Gilead, the son of Machir, the son of Manasseh, of the families of the sons of Joseph, came near and spake before Moses and before the princes and the chief fathers of the children of Israel. And they said, The Lord commanded my Lord to give the land for an inheritance by lot to the children of Israel. And my Lord was commanded by the Lord to give an inheritance of Zelophehad, our brother, unto his daughters. And if they be married to any of the sons of the other tribes of the children of Israel, then shall their inheritance be taken from the inheritance of our fathers, and shall be put to an inheritance of the tribe whereunto they are received. So shall it be taken from the lot of our inheritance. And when the jubilee of the children of Israel shall be, then shall their inheritance be put into the inheritance of the tribe whereunto they are received. So shall their inheritance be taken away from the inheritance of the tribe of their fathers. As you can see that, right? And Moses commanded the children of Israel according to the word of the Lord, saying, The tribe of the sons of Joseph have well said, This is the thing which the Lord doeth command concerning the daughters of Zelophehad, saying, Let them marry to whom they think best, only to the family of the tribe of their father shall they marry. So shall not the inheritance of the children of Israel remove from tribe to tribe. For every one of the children of Israel shall keep himself to the inheritance of the tribe of his fathers. And every daughter that possesseth any inheritance in any tribe of children of Israel shall be wife unto one of the family of the tribe of her father, that the children of Israel may enjoy every man the inheritance of his fathers. Neither shall the inheritance remove from one tribe to another, but every one of the tribes of Israel, or the children of Israel, shall keep himself of his own inheritance. So, basically, when they're giving out the land, the inheritance goes to the boy. But if there is no boy, it has to go to the girl. And when it goes to the girl, she needs to go marry somebody from her own tribe, her own culture, her own nation. Right? And then what happens? Well, that inheritance now becomes his inheritance. That's it. That inheritance now becomes his inheritance. Now, that matters, right? Because if you go to Deuteronomy 22, the reason why that matters, if you look at Deuteronomy 22, right? And go down, Deuteronomy 22. Verse 28. If a man find a damsel that is a virgin, which is not betrothed, and lay hold on her and lie with her, and they be found, then the man that lay with her shall give unto the damsel's father 50 shekels of silver, and she shall be his wife, because he have humbled her. He may not put her away all his days. That matters. You cannot take someone's virginity and just leave them. You have to marry that woman when you take her virginity. And not only that, but verse 29, you have to give her father a gift, money. You can't just take his daughter virginity. You have to pay him for that. This is another reason why the boys need an inheritance. You have to have something to offer that woman. You can't just go lay with her and you don't have a plan. You don't have anything to offer her. You have to have something to offer her, and you cannot put her away. What happens when you put her away? You prostitute her, right? And also, if you look into this, remember I said, you actually have to get, like, as parents, we should be giving our kids a way to be married. Like, as a family, you should be giving your daughter to a man to marry. She shouldn't be trial and error. You don't tell her, baby, it's plenty of fish in the sea. You don't let her go choose and pick. That's why so many women end up with the wrong men. And they be worrying about money, right? Well, if y'all would have did it the right way, and you would have gave that woman to the man to be his wife, and he would have paid you and gave you a gift, that woman wouldn't have to worry about, okay, is this man going to be able to take care of me and do for me? You would already know that. He'd show you that up front. If you go to Genesis 24:10, right? Even Abraham, when he sent his servant, Genesis 24:10, I'm not going to read the whole story. And I really don't have much more, right? I'm almost done. Genesis 24:10. When Abraham sent his servant, right, to go find a wife for Isaac, he told his servant to go into his own people, right? And then even on verse 10, Genesis 24:10, and the servant took 10 camels of the camels of his master and departed. For all the goods of his master were in his hand. And he arose and went to Mesopotamia into the city of Nahor. If you go down, that's where he ended up meeting Rebecca, right? So go down so we don't have to read the whole story, right? I'm just kind of skim down. Genesis 24:15. And it came to pass before he had done speaking that, behold, Rebecca came out, who was born to Bethuel, son of Milcah, the wife of Nahor, Abraham's brother, and with her pitcher upon her shoulder. And the damsel was very fair to look upon. She was very beautiful, right? A virgin, neither had any man known her. And she went down to the well and filled her pitcher and came up. And the servant ran to meet her and said, let me, I pray thee, drink a little water of thy pitcher. And she said, drink, my lord. And she hasted and let down her pitcher upon her hand and gave him drink. And when she had done giving him drink, she said, I will draw water for thy camels also, until they have done drinking. And she hastened and emptied her pitcher in the trough, and ran again to the well to draw water, and drew for all the camels. And the man, wondering at her, held his peace to it whether the Lord had made his journey prosperous or not. And it came to pass, as the camels had done drinking, that the man took a golden earring of half a shekel weight, and 2 bracelets for her hands, and 10 shekels weight of gold, and said, Whose daughter art thou? Tell me, I pray thee. Is there room in thy father's house for us to lodge in? And she said, I am the daughter of Bethuel, son of Milcah, which she bare to Nahor. So if you skim down, to verse 24, 27, and he said, Blessed be the Lord God of my master Abraham, who have not left destitute my master of his mercy and his truth. I being in the way, the Lord led me to the house of my master's brother. He went back to Abraham's own people. And the damsel ran and told them of her mother's house these things. And Rebekah had a brother, and his name was Laban. And Laban ran out unto the man unto the well. And it came to pass, when he saw the earring and the bracelets upon his sister's hand, when he heard the words of Rebekah his sister, saying, Thus spake the man unto me, that he came unto the man, and behold, he stood by the camels at the well. And he came and said, Come in, thou blessed of the Lord. Wherefore standest thou without? For I prepared the house and room for the camels, right? If you go down, he's introducing himself in verse 44, and he said, I am Abraham's servant. And he's telling them that basically he came, that Abraham sent him out to find a son for Isaac, right? But if you go down to verse 53, right? Genesis 24:53. And the servant brought forth jewels of silver and jewels of gold and raiment, and gave them to Rebekah. He gave also to her brother and to her mother precious things. Again, that man has to have something to offer. He has to have permission to marry that woman. That woman has to be given to him. She has to remain a virgin. Parents, I'm bringing this up because it's your job to make sure your daughter remains a virgin. It's your job to find a husband for your daughter. You can't be waiting till she graduates from high school, or when she's in high school, you can't be allowing her to lose her virginity. This is your responsibility. That man needs to have an inheritance. He has to have something to offer that woman. Because if you go to Exodus, right? Look, if you go to Exodus 21:10, now this is talking about having multiple wives, but still, it's just one part of this I want to take out. Exodus 21:10. Right? If he take him another wife, her food, her raiment, and her duty of marriage shall he not diminish. So it's talking about taking another wife, but we're not looking at that, right? What I wanted to look at in that was her food, her raiment, her duty of marriage shall he not diminish. This is a man's responsibility to that woman. You have to put food on the table, clothes on her back. You have a duty of marriage. And it cannot be diminished, whether you have one wife or multiple wives. If you want to have multiple wives, okay. But you can't diminish your duty of marriage to none of those wives. They have to be equally taken care of. You have to have something to offer that woman. Exodus 20:9, right? Tells you that you have 6 days to work. But on the 7th day is the Sabbath, right? Keep it holy. You got 6 days to get money. But guess what? That woman's your helpmeet. She got 6 days to work with you. Now, of course, we're in captivity. We're not living like this, right? But that's how you know who God's people are. These so-called Black Americans, right? Because look who's affected by not doing this the right way. Because a lot of these other nations actually follow these things, right? But look who's affected. You know, if you go to Deuteronomy 24, when it's talking about a divorce, right? Because I just want to show you this. Deuteronomy 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24. 24 when it's talking about a divorce. When a man have taken a wife and married her, and it come to pass that she find no favor in his eyes because he have found some uncleanness in her, then let him write her a bill of divorcement and give it into her hand and send her out of his house. And when she is departed out of his house, she may go and be another man's wife. The point of me bringing that up is it's his house. It's the man's house. The man is the neighbor. The man is the neighbor. It's his house. That man needs to have a house and an inheritance to give to that woman. That's Exodus 20:17. Thou shalt not cover thy neighbor's house. The man is the neighbor. The woman ain't the neighbor. The man is the neighbor, right? But I guess the woman could be the neighbor if she's not married. Right? But you're supposed to be married unless your husband died. Because nowhere in the Bible does it say a woman can divorce her husband, right? But that man has to write her a bill of divorce and send her out of his house. It's his house. Remember, if the woman gets the inheritance, she gets married to a man in her own tribe. It then becomes his inheritance. But that just because it's his house, that doesn't mean he just rules over her and she's nothing. Remember, they've given dominion of the earth together. It's also her house as well. But you're considered being a part of his house, right? That's why men, that's why fathers, you need to send your sons away with an inheritance so that when they find a young woman and they get married, they can take that woman into their house. Even when you look at Genesis 24:67, right? Genesis 24:67. Genesis 24:67. Isaac, right? When Isaac got married, right, to Rebecca, and Isaac brought her into his mother's tent, into his mother Sarah's tent, and took Rebecca, and she became his wife, and he loved her, and Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. After Sarah died, Isaac, married Rebecca. He took her into Sarah's tent, which means that was left to him to be able to give something to his wife. And then Rebecca ended up taking the place of Sarah. Remember, you leave your mother and father's house and you build your own. So for women, you leave your mother and your father's house and you go into your husband. Your husband then takes the place of your father. You're not going to be married to your father. That has to be left behind. You go in and make your own house with your own husband. Men, you have to marry that woman. You're not marrying your mother. You have to go in and now she takes the place of your mama. She takes that role and you take the place of your father. And then I just want to say this about the women, right? Because remember we said that, when you find a woman, she's a virgin, you have to marry her. You cannot put her away. Y'all cannot just be out here snatching virginities and walking away. A lot of men pride themselves on taking a woman's virginity. And some of y'all men done took a few virginities, more than a few. And y'all ain't married to none of those women. What happens when you take a woman's virginity and you don't marry her? Then you get Leviticus 19:29. Leviticus 19:29. Do not prostitute thy daughter to cause her to be a whore, lest the land fall to whoredom and the land become full of wickedness. Ross Pinky, hello. Shalom. You cannot prostitute your daughter. Remember what I said, family, parents. It is your job to keep your daughter a virgin. Your daughter should not be sneaking having sex, especially not while she's in your house and you don't know anything about it. You have to groom her and raise her in a way, keep her a virgin. When she gets to age, do not be trying to send her off to college and all these things that y'all try to do. Or sending her out into the world, telling her to find her way. You're prostituting your daughter. Cause she ain't got no direction. She finna go out here and just hook up with anybody. And she finna go through trial and error. And you know what happens in our community when our relationships don't work? They be like, well, y'all know it's plenty of fish in the sea. You're making, when you be telling your daughters when they have a bad breakup with their boyfriend, it's plenty of fish in the sea, baby. You're making them a whore. You're prostituting them. You can't prostitute them. You're supposed to keep them a virgin and give them to a man. When that man comes to them, he's supposed to get your permission to lay with her, to have sex with her, to marry her. And he's supposed to give you a gift. He's supposed to already have an inheritance passed down from his family so that he got somewhere to take that woman to. And then same thing with the men. Y'all don't just let the men go out here and trial and error either. Y'all need parents. We're supposed to actually be finding a wife for our sons. Somebody that's suitable for him. That way your son won't have to be like, man, she ain't the right one, and then go find somebody else. You need to be in charge of who he's marrying. And this, I know a lot of people don't like that. Because we in a westernized world where people like, no, it's my life. You ain't no. But I'm telling you, this is why in our community, we don't get married anymore. This is why we have broken homes. This is why the whole world laughs at our community. Because we got single baby mamas. We don't even hear that term in no other culture, baby mama. That term is only synonymous with the Black American community. Nobody else plays those games. This is why we got sexy reds. Why our community got to look like that? Why we got to be thoughts? Why we got to be a Tatiana? Why we got to be hoes? Look at the way they talk about us and the way they portray us, right? Men, you cannot go snatch virginities. You have to be with that woman. Parents, you keep your daughter a virgin. Stop trying to send her out to do anything when she graduates, telling her to go find her way and what makes her happy in life. You might as well tell her to go to the strip club. You done already turned her into a hoe. She don't got no direction. She not gonna go find the right one. Women, I'm gonna tell you right now, we do not have the ability to go out and find the right one. You have to do this thing for us. And then the parents want to sit around and not agree with who you date. Why they didn't put their hand into seeing who you date, but they don't want to agree with who you date. They should have been in control of who you were dating. And this definitely applies to my parents as well, right? But this is what happens when we don't follow the laws and commandments. And as a woman, remember your duty is Genesis 1, right? Because I just got a few more. Genesis 1, remember women as your duty. Genesis 1:27. So God created man in his own image. The image of God created he him. Male and female created he them. Remember we said earlier, the creator is a helpmeet. So women, you're a helpmeet. If these men are devaluing you and because you're a helpmeet, then they devalue the creator. He's the helpmeet, right? And God blessed them, and God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply. Yes, women, you need to be worrying about getting married and having babies and being fruitful and multiply. Your career does not come first. And replenish the earth. That's your job. And subdue it. And have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. That's you and that man's job together. Now, for both men and women, remember this, right? So I got like 3 or 4 more for you. Leviticus 19, right? And then I'm closing. Leviticus 19. Leviticus 19:3. You shall fear every man his mother and father, and keep my Sabbaths. I am the Lord your God. Turn ye not into idols, nor make to yourself molten gods. I am the Lord your God. You're only supposed to be serving and worshiping the Creator and following his ways. You're supposed to fear your mother and your father and keep his Sabbaths. But your mother and your father, you're supposed to fear them. And what are they supposed to do? They're supposed to Deuteronomy 6:7. Deuteronomy 6:7. Matter of fact, start at verse 5, right? Start at verse 5, Deuteronomy 6 and 5. And thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thine heart and with all thy soul and with all thy might. And these words which I shall command thee this day shall be in thine heart, the laws and commandments, right? And thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, and shall talk of them when thou sittest in thine house, and when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up. And thou shalt bind them for a sign upon thine hand, and they shall be as frontlets between thine eyes. Remember Malachi 2, right? 14, 15, 16, 17. The point is the Creator made man and woman is supposed to be one in spirit, one in flesh, so they can produce a godly seed. They have to, remember Amos 3 and 3, how can two walk together unless they agree? You have to agree and be on the same path and teaching your kids how to serve the Creator and walk in his ways. And kids are supposed to fear their mother and father. They're supposed to do what their mother and father tell them to do. But their mother and father is supposed to be telling them these laws, commandments, and judgments. Remain a virgin. Men, when you take her virginity, be with her. Don't put her away. Deuteronomy 11:19. Therefore you shall lay up these my words in your heart and in your soul, and bind them for a sign upon your hand, that they may be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall teach them your children, speaking to them when thou sittest in thine house, and when thou walkest by the way, when thou liest down, and when thou risest up. And thou shalt write them upon the doorposts of thine house and upon thy gates, that your days may be multiplied in the days of your children in the land which the Lord sware unto your fathers to give them, as the days of heaven upon the earth. For if you shall diligently keep all these commandments which I shall command you to do them, to love the Lord your God, to walk in all his ways, and to cleave unto him, then will the Lord drive out all these nations from before you, and you shall possess greater nations and mightier than yourselves. That's what the man and the wife, the husband and the woman, that's what they're supposed to be teaching the kids, the laws and commandments. You teach them the laws and commandments. That way, when they grow up, they will leave you and they will go to their own husband and wife and cleave and be as one. And they will have a godly seed, because they're going to grow up teaching their kids the laws and commandments and be as one. That was what Adam and Eve were supposed to do, y'all. That was the whole Genesis 2:18 through 2:25. The helpmeet. And there we already read the story of Deborah the prophetess. There is no limit in being the helpmeet. There's no boundaries. If that man is outside plowing the field, you need to be outside plowing the field with him or doing something that helps him. There is no limitations. These men, y'all got to stop lying and interpreting Genesis the way y'all want to interpret Genesis. Now, the woman, she's just supposed to be in the house cooking and cleaning. It don't exactly say, because in the Bible, sometimes the men cook. But if that man is in the house cooking, women, you need to be washing the dishes or doing it. Like, you have to be to help me. How can two walk together unless they are agreed? You're supposed to be one in spirit, one flesh, on the same page. That's the help me. Remember we read the story of David? What is the help me? I always tell you, Cole, but help me for me is when you meet someone with help. If you getting out of the car and you got groceries, I'm going to come outside and meet you and help you get the groceries out of the car. Whatever you're doing, I'm doing too. But unlike Adam and Eve, we need to be walking in the ways of the Creator, keeping his laws and commandments, right? That's our lifeline. That's our wisdom. You can't take that forbidden fruit, that knowledge of good and evil, that puts you in sin. Because if we walk on the same page in that direction, that equals death, curses, destruction. What Adam should have did was, because he was with her when she ate the fruit, right? He should have talked her out of it. He should have been a helpmeet to Eve. He should have stopped her. He should have put his foot down. But no, he walked on the same page with her as in eating that fruit. And you seen what happened. They were cursed. Death came, right? It didn't come right then immediately. but it's still here today. So again, this was just me going over Genesis 2:18 to 2:25, meet the help meets. Like I said, unless somebody got a time machine and they was living back in the days of Adam and Eve, y'all can't possibly tell me that your way of interpreting Genesis is the absolute 100% correct way. Like that word rib right there in Hebrew, that means Tesla, right? Side. That doesn't necessarily mean the creator put Adam to sleep and did surgery on Adam and took a bone out of his body. You don't see where the beasts of the field and the fowls of the air remain. Like he made them. He didn't take them from each other's bodies. He made them from the dust. So why wouldn't a woman be made from the dust? Right? Like I said, you have to actually study Torah to actually understand what these things mean, right? Even when you go to Genesis 1:27, right? It says, so God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them. He created male and female in his image. When the woman, if she's the help me, the creator's the help me. We read that Hosea 13:9. Our help is in him. We also read that, what was it? First or Second Chronicles 17. First Chronicles 12:18. The creator was the help. A man and a husband and wife are equal. They have different purposes, different roles, and they're help me to each other. But they have to be on the same page. They have to walk together, right? So, I mean, I do thank anybody who did listen. I wanted to cover this because there's so many disrespectful men out here that they interpret Genesis, and a lot of these men are beta men. They need to feel superior than somebody. A lot of times they can't feel superior over other men, so they have to have that woman around to feel superior over her, right? This is why we have so many gender wars. Then you have a lot of women who undermine the men, right? You undermine the man. You're not a real helpmeet with the man. You walk contrary unto him. If he say go left, you say go right. You always want to challenge him, right? That's why you're not walking together. You're not agreed. But y'all supposed to be walking together according to the Creator's laws, commandments, and judgments. That's the right way. So again, I do think whoever, if this finds you, again, study Torah so you can understand what Genesis, the interpretation of these things, right? Don't let nobody tell you what they believe. Look through the scriptures and find out what these things really mean. So, shalom. Everybody have a good night, a good Shabbat. If this is your Shabbat, shalom.